few there.
Already have the book.
We're about at our end of our stock, but we got more ordered. I'm being told that we're looking at about 3 weeks before they'll come in.
Put your orders in now to get this book. I don't even know where to start with you, Micah. I'm going to introduce you and let you go from where it all started. I mean, you had 2 young kids. How many kids you got, Micah? How many kids do you have?
Just me, or between me and my wife? We have a blended family now.
Just you. So, how many do you have?
I've had 6 children. I've fathered 6 children.
Okay, well, Micah has 6 children. I'm gonna introduce. This is Mr. Micah Turner. Awesome man. Micah, you own what do you have? A scaffold business where you do scaffold.
So I owned a scaffold business at one time. I sold it and I run that for another company now. And I own a safety training and consulting company where we go around and we do safety training. We consult with companies for safety programs, or if they get in trouble with OSHA, we help negate those and things like that. Safety's really become paramount in my life. So that was the company that we started, Turner Consulting and Training Services.
So that you started that yourself?
Yes.
That was years ago.
2018.
2018. Okay. So start at the beginning, Michael, for the panel. I mean, tell us, where you came from. And
if I start at the beginning, we're going to be here for a while. But
listen. Let's start somewhere, because you're going to be here with us for just like this is just show number 1. So let's start at the good part. Let's start let's see what happened. You talk, so I don't want to.
Yeah, so we'll pick up here. I'll just say I grew up in a lower class family for a lot of years. My father was in show business. We did good then, but he got out of that, and him and my mom divorced for a while, and so we lived a hard life. There was 4 of us kids. Mom raised us single for a while. Then Dad came home, changed careers, and life was a bit rough. Then when I went to college on a music scholarship, I left college 2 years into college and went into the Navy, got out of the Navy, and because of the military background, went into law enforcement. So I was working at the state prison. I was a sergeant. And in 2001, my ex-wife, myself, my 2 sons, my daughter, and my brother-in-law were on our way home from my parents' timeshare that they had. We were swimming that day, and we were driving home. I was speeding, and we blew a tire. My daughter wasn't in a car seat. We rolled the car. It was a catastrophic accident. I lost my daughter, my son, and my brother-in-law in that accident. And the Highway Patrol picked it up and charged me with 3 counts of vehicular homicide. So,
how old were your kids?
My little Terry Lynn was 1.5 years. Levi was 2.5.
Wow.
And they were a couple little bundles of joy, I'm going to tell you what. And so I went from working at a state prison to defending myself in court, and I was offered a plea deal for a 10-year suspended sentence, followed by 2 years house arrest, and 10 years probation. I did 1.5 years of the house arrest, got the rest of that dismissed for good behavior, and then I did 5 years of probation. And one of my conditions was I wasn't supposed to drive with the kids in the car. I was trying to raise the kids on my own at the time for a while, and I got caught driving with them in the car, our remaining children. And so I violated my probation, and I stared 15 consecutive sentences in the face, 45 years. by the grace of God, we were able to get that reduced, and I served 8.5 years in prison. I was released on March 25th, 2015, and I've been blessed and living the American dream. And now my goal is just trying to leave this world a better place than I came into it, and seeing who I can help and encourage, because traumatic events, bad events, wrong events don't have to be the end.
Right. Well, Michael, let me ask you a question, because you said that when you went to prison, you came out and you live in the American dream. When you came out of prison, what did you do? You started the company then, or you had it
No,
going while you was in prison, or what happened?
yeah,
How'd that
while I
happen?
was on probation, I needed another job, so I went to a day labor hall, and they sent me out to a scaffold job in the phosphate mines in Polk County, Florida. Oh, brother, that's some work. That is some hard, nasty work. But I fell in love with it, and I learned that craft prior to going to prison. So when I got out, I needed a job. And I went to a company, a scaffold company in Orlando, and I applied for the job. We knew some of the same people from when I had worked in the scaffold industry prior to my prison sentence. And the gentleman said, "Look, all I have is a builder spot. I can pay you $15 an hour." And I took it. And I went to work, and I started working on my tools and building scaffold and climbing scaffold. And in 3 months, he gave me a $3 raise. A month after that, he made me a foreman. So I did that. 3 months after that, an acquisition happened, and a large corporation bought the little company that I was working for. And he said, "Hey, they're buying us, so it's an opportunity for me to advance you again." And he made me a project manager. And I got a significant raise there. And so I did that for about a year, and decided, I had dreams and I had aspirations. So I quit my job. I found some investors first, and that were willing to put up a very small amount of money for me to have an opportunity, and it benefited them as well, because they did work in the Covanta energy plants, and it's a recycled energy plant, and they do outages and maintenance, so they need scaffold throughout the year. So this was an opportunity for them to kind of get some cheaper scaffold, investing in me, and we were able to share that way. So I went home and I told my wife, I said, "Hey," I got home early. It was just after lunch. And she looked at me and she said, "You're home early today," which just never happened. I was working 12, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. And I said, "Well, I quit my job today." And she said, "You did what?" And I said, "Well, all those times that I said, if they would just do it like this." She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, we're fixing to find out if I'm right." And she said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What's the worst that can happen? I fail?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "So I go back to work for another scaffold company. But what if I succeed?" And I'll never forget, after a few years, this was about 5 years ago, I had an opportunity through work to get her to Europe, and we went to Rome and we went to Venice. She had always dreamed of going to Venice. And we were on the gondola going through the rivers in Venice. And I looked at her and I said, "Hey, baby, remember when I said it'd be worth it one day?" And she smiled real big and she said, "Today's that day." But I think fear traps us too often, and I think too many people could make it so much farther in their lives if they would be willing to believe in themselves and just take a chance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's absolutely right. I'm. I can't let you get away with it, Michael. I can't let you do it, man. You know me, because you and I talk, and
Yeah.
you painting this picture right now of the American dream. You painting this beautiful picture. However, I do remember you and I talking. You lost those kids, and you told me how you felt, and you told me
Yeah.
what you went through, and you told me you even walked across the scaffolds without any, just didn't care if you fell.
Yeah, there was a time
There had to be a
when,
time when that had to
yeah,
really,
for the first few years after the accident, I was in a very, very, very dark place. Um, like I said, I was in law enforcement at one time, and my father and I, we used to shoot competition together in the Florida Peace Officers Association, and we were good. We loaded our own bullets, so I was very, very familiar with guns, and with the ammunition, and I was just in a dark place, and I couldn't take the pain that I was going through. Um, I couldn't take looking at 45 years, which at that point was pretty much a life sentence for me. I was in my early 30s, so I was looking at being just 79, 80 years old before I got out. Um, Anyone listening at 79 or 80, bless you. It's not that old. You're great. So, but I was looking at life passing me by. I was just in a real dark place, and I went into my father's closet. I was at his house, and I pulled his 357 competition pistol out, and I loaded it. Um, my mouth, and I pulled the trigger, and it just went click. And the sense of rage that I went into, I can't tell you how many times I pulled the trigger of that pistol.
loaded.
But I can tell you, I turned that cylinder more than twice,
Wow.
and it would not go off. And I was so angry, and I cursed God. I was cursing God. I was like, "You won't even let me just escape," you know. And I threw that pistol onto the shelf in the closet, and I left. Sometime later, I was home. A few days later, I came back. I had left for a few days, and I came home, and my mother and my father, looked at me, and my dad said, "You been in my closet?" And I said, "Yes." And I told him what happened, and he said, "I need to show you something." So before a pistol match, he would usually get the gun, and we would do what you call dry fire. You just hold the pistol out, you aim it at the wall on a spot, and you pull the trigger real slow and make sure that the sight doesn't move. It's working on your nerves. And of course, the gun's not loaded. We don't keep a loaded gun in the house. But that gun was loaded because when I was so frustrated, I threw it into the closet. And Dad picked that gun up thinking it was unloaded, and he pulled the trigger, and the first shot went off, and the bullet went through the wall.
Wow. Wow. But you firing it, and it wouldn't go off.
I pulled that trigger no less than 12, 13, 14 times. I know I turned the cylinder more than twice, and it would not go off. By the grace of God, he had some other plans.
Purpose.
Yeah, purpose. He had a purpose. Yeah.
Talk about this. Yes.
So, I don't tell that story often, but I tell it when it's needed, and it has affected many lives. And if nothing else, the pain I went through at the time to help those other people was worth it, if it will help someone else.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So now, at that stage of your life, you still married.
I was still married at the time. Yes, I didn't get divorced till I went to prison.
How long after the death of your children did that happen?
6 months.
Oh.
6 months. I was, physically most of the way healed from my injuries. A broken neck. I almost lost my arm. But I had no job. I was fighting prison. It was a dark time.
Well, at what point did the authorities determine that you had did something enough to charge you with vehicular homicide, with losing your children. So now what they're basically doing is giving you the responsibility that you were responsible for your children's death.
In the first time I woke up in the hospital, I woke up to it on the news, and the highway patrolman said they were going to charge me
because you were speeding.
Yes, yeah.
Or was it that, or because your son?
Well, it was a combination of speeding, and I was driving, and my daughter was in a car seat. Was not in a car seat at the time, so it was a combination.
Wow. So it was just the tire blowing out was just freakish accident.
Yeah, it was actually at the time. I don't know if you remember. It was during Goodyear, Firestone, when all the Firestones were blowing, and it was a Firestone tire. We were doing 85 on a 4-lane highway. Of course, the allegation was I don't know 120, 100. Right. Several allegations. Of course, witnesses came forward and they were like, no, he wasn't doing that fast. But, like I said, I woke up in the hospital. I don't know if you can see it here, but, I almost lost my arm. So I've got a scar that runs all the way around. I had a broken neck, fractured in my back. So, I still live with some of those injuries today. Yeah.
I bet. You just answered it because I see Veronica asked, were you injured as well? You said you broke your neck and your back and almost lost your arm in that accident. So now, after this, you had the accident. How long were you in the hospital?
About a month. I was in about a month. My ex-wife, wife at the time, she had a broken femur. She was in traction, so she was in the hospital for about 2 months, and then she was in a wheelchair after that. And then our oldest son, he survived, and believe it or not, had almost no injuries. His uncle, my brother-in-law that passed away during the accident, reached over and grabbed him and basically took the blow, and that's what saved him.
So the car rolled?
Yes, several times, and then ended up wrapping around a telephone pole.
Oh wow, that's horrible. So then you went to after the hospital, got out. And I'm trying to get us back up to this great story you were telling about.
So I like I said, it took about a year before I ended up signing a plea. We were almost getting ready to go to trial. Of course, I couldn't afford a high dollar attorney, so I had a lower priced attorney who said, well, I can keep you out of prison. And I was like, okay, let's do that. Instead, I ended up in what they call the delayed entry program. So I did 6.5 years learning the scaffold trade while I was on house arrest and probation, and then went to prison from there. Prison for me at first was pretty hard. Anybody who knows anything about prison, a former guard who goes into prison and is now an inmate has a bit of a rough time at first, till you establish who you are. So I went to school.
Were you still wounded?
No. I was.
You was already healed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had been working in the scaffold industry. This was 6.5 years after the accident. So, and actually, the way they figured out I was an officer was there was a guy in the dorm who was on one of my work squads when I was a sergeant. And he's actually the one that eased some things up for me. He's like, no. Turner was a good guy. So. Thankfully, I was raised My father retired from the department as a major, so he always taught me, you always treat people fair. You're not the punitive stage of the criminal justice system, and so I lived by that, and I was thankful, when when I ended up on the other side. But prison will do a couple different things depending on the path you choose to take, and I just chose to look in the mirror every day. And my story is pretty long. I was not a good guy before I went to prison. After the accident, I was a worse guy. I became very angry. I was violent. I was just not a good man. And people that see me and talk to me now, they're like, well, you, But people that know me then are like, yeah, him. I was a different person, and I had 8.5 years to look at who I was, how I had become who I was, and who I wanted to be when I got out, and what I wanted life to be when I got out. And so I made a determination, and my mother would come and visit me. And I told her, I have these dreams. I'm going to start a ministry. I want to own a scaffold company. I want to own my own business. I want to go back into the prisons and work with inmates. And she's the only one. She looked me right in the eye and she says, I have no doubt you'll do every one of those things, but she's mom. So, but within 3 years of being released, I had accomplished every one of those things. I was back in the prisons within a year. When I go in now, they hand me a set of keys, and I walk the compound free, and I work with the inmates. We build custom motorcycles, and we ride our motorcycles onto the compound and work with inmates. And they come out and they look at the bikes, and that gives us an opportunity to open dialogue. I've worked a little bit with Florida legislature, trying to work on some prison reform to help get some programs into the prison to help inmates when they get out. I had started my own business. I had run a scaffold company, started the ministry, been back in prison. So, it was like I got done with that, and I went, okay, God, I accomplished all those things. What are we going to do now? And he said, just hold on. And doors just keep opening. And everywhere I go, I find an opportunity to bless somebody with my story and encouragement. People that are at life crossroads and not sure what they want to do, or they want to achieve a goal and they're not sure how to go about it. And it just opens a door, and I end up being able to help people. And that's the most rewarding thing right now is being able to help people. I think I told you, I was asked, if you could change one thing, what would it be? If you could change anything. And when I think about it, my answer is nothing, because everything that I've been through brought me to where I am. And I've seen where everything that's happened through my life, and there's a lot, it's a lot of it's in the book, and that doesn't even cover all of it. But everything that's happened, I have seen help someone. And so I'm humbled by that, and I'm grateful for it.
It's really good, man. The most effective people that we've had on this show, the most interesting people, the most powerful speakers, the most people that touch most people are the ones that come on here and their main goal is to help someone else. Mm-hmm. Someone that has a passion to, I just want to reach somebody else. I just want this to touch somebody else, to make them maybe possibly deter them from going through some of the things I went through. Yeah. Or make them understand, so they understand maybe why or what they're going through what I went through and through me sharing. And that is
or a way awesome. To cope, or a way to make it through.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. That is awesome that you have that zeal to do that.
Absolutely.
Some people want to just come on the show and just I want everybody to know who I am. I want to be saved.
I can do without that part, but I guess they have to if I'm going to help them, right? So,
all right. I want more likes. I want more. I want people to see me. But
no, I'm humbled to be in the position to be able to help people, and it's exciting for me. It's humbling. It's rewarding. Those are the best days when you're able to actually help somebody. Those are the days you go to bed and you're like, today was a good day.
right. And I think you told me that, and I said, "Wow, that's neat." When you told me that if you could change, what would you change? If you could change one thing, what would you change? And you said nothing.
Yeah,
I would change a thing. Because everything I went through had purpose for it.
It's what brought me to where I am, and I'm going to tell you, there's some stories, and you and I have talked about some of them that I thought long and hard about. Maybe those. Right. But again, ultimately, that was part of the journey, and that's why the book's called Choices: A Journey from Bad Decisions to Good Results.
That's right. And I'm encouraging each and every person on this line to go and get this book, or just put it in your order. They got more coming. And it's Choices: A Journey from Bad Decisions to Good Results. And I got mine, and mine is signed, so yours won't be like mine. Yours won't be like mine.
Messed up a perfectly good page.
Anybody have a question? Anybody got a good question for Micah? This stuff, and don't be shy, because people, I don't want to touch on that.
No, it's an open book, so I promise you're not going to ask something I haven't already been asked.
Life is an open book, and if you don't have questions, I have many questions. As to, I see Karen, is your hand waving around up there?
Of course it is.
Hi, Karen.
I always have something to say. First of all, God bless you, and it is your story is such a heart-wrenching story, heart-wrenching testimony, and I just thank God that you are able to tell that story, because, like you said, it helps other people, and not many people would be able to tell that story or to share that testimony, because it's like you can't even imagine that when you was talking about going into the closet and getting the gun and spinning the whatever that thing is called,
the cylinder,
the cylinder. When you were saying it, I felt the pain. I felt like I was there, and I just thank God for you. I thank God that, as horrible as it is, there is so much purpose in this story, and I don't have a question. I'm just in awe. I usually have all the questions, but I'm in awe, and you just keep doing what you're doing, because
thank you.
Lord definitely has so much purpose for you, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the encouragement.
Thank you so much, Karen, for that. So let me get back to where we're at now. Where we are, you're in prison.
Yeah.
You're in prison. You got 8.5 years in prison. Wow.
That's a longer time than people think, but it's also a faster time than people think.
Yeah.
I was told by an older inmate when I first went in, I wasn't doing well. And he grabbed me. He said, "Hey, brother, you can't live outside these walls. This is your life right now." And
so you're right.
He said, "The days will drag, but the years will fly." And when you get out on the other end, you look back and you're like, "Wow, that flew."
Yeah.
Well, boy, it wasn't flying while you was doing it.
Yeah, when you get on the other side of it, you're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was gravy. Yeah,
But man, listen, it's,
yeah, yeah.
but so now that you've gone to prison, you're right. You get out, and now how do you how do you end up being allowed to go back inside?
So at the time, and I'm not sure what the rule is now, but at the time, you had to be out for 3 years. And I happened to be going through Avon Park, which is where the prison was that I was at. It was on the Avon Park Air Force Base there. There's a state prison there. And I was going through there because I was going to South Florida to look at a job, a big scaffold job. And I stopped at a place, and the major from the work camp was there. And I said, Major. And he looked over, he said, Micah Turner. And we talked. He asked what I was doing. I told him, he says, man, you need to come back in. And I said, well, I got a couple more years. He said, oh, no, let me make a phone call. And 2 weeks later, I got an email that said, here's your application. Fill this out, and you'll be able to come back into Avon Park, which is where I got out of. And
Wow.
so yeah, it was the major that was there. He saw what was going on after I had gotten out, and how life was going for me, and he's like, you need to come back in. And he kind of knew my story anyway, so
Right.
yeah, so I got in 2 years earlier than I should have. And
You know how that happened.
right, yeah, he turns the hearts of the judges as he wills. So
Right.
and it was just amazing to go back. I'll never forget the first time I walked back through those gates, knowing I was going to walk back out that same night. That was a really amazing feeling. There were guys that were still there, that were there when I was there. There were officers and guards that were there when I was there. And it was just, what was crazy is it was like walking in as a celebrity, and I was really like, hey, I'm still one of y'all. I'm no different. And so all the questions started coming. Okay, well, how are you doing so well? And I still get them. How are you doing so well as a convicted felon, right? And I will tell you, I thought about that question a lot, but the answer is actually really simple, and it's transparency. I broadcast my conviction. When I go
Right.
somewhere, when I meet someone, I just tell them straight up, hey, I'm a convicted felon. It happened in 2001. This is what happened. But I've gotten out, and this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm at, and I'm trying to help people. And you would be amazed at the guards that just drop when you do it that way.
Yeah, that's fun. That's good stuff, man. I feel you on that.
Yeah,
I know the
yeah.
feeling.
Absolutely.
I see. Earl Jones has his hand up. Earl, what do you have? What do you have, Earl?
Hello, Earl.
Okay, there you are.
Yes.
Yes.
So that has happened a couple times. People, that haven't had the type of struggle through life aren't as receptive to the redemption story, right? For me, it's no different. I just pray that one day something in that story will touch them in some way, and maybe help them, help prevent them from going through a struggle, so maybe they haven't been through it, but maybe this will help them not go through it. Kind of preventative care, so to speak. Others, there are some sensitive parts of my story. When those creep up, a short pause, a deep breath, and a quick thank you prayer to God for saving me, because that's why I'm here. And then the understanding that this story, will help in some way, which is why we're talking about it. And it allows me to just keep pushing through.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that question. Let me ask you this, because I said this earlier to a guest that was on earlier, that we have plans. I think you and I talked about this. We have plans, but God has purpose. So his purpose, right? Once you know, because there's a purpose for everyone here, right? There's a purpose. Now, whether you know your purpose or not, once you know and it's revealed to you what your purpose is, then you begin to understand better, so to speak, at another level. Now, let me ask you, at what point, Micah, because you went through a lot, bro. You went there. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, we haven't touched on it.
We haven't even touched it. There's so much meat on this bone.
Yeah.
There's so much. At what point did you know this is my purpose? Because you're going through all of this stuff. You didn't know what was going on. At some point, you say, wait a minute. I got a whole nother purpose here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So for the Christians or the believers out there, this story is going to hit different than those who don't. For those who don't, you think I'm belong in a loony bin, and that's okay. I probably do. So we had a track at the prison that I was at, and in the afternoons after work, yes, we all worked. After work in the afternoons, I would walk that track, and that was just my personal time. And oftentimes it was my time with God. It was either that or when I could get into the chapel by myself and just sit down behind the keyboard, and just some amazing praise and worship songs would come to me, and I would write them down. So those were my times of solace. And I remember one day I had gone through what I call the blame game, in my life, where I had blamed everyone, including myself, God, everyone, Firestone, tires. I had blamed everyone. And I just said, God, look, I know you didn't take my kids. I'm past that. I get it. But I also know you allowed it to happen. Why? And the answer was so vivid and real. I literally looked to make sure nobody else heard it, because to me it was audible. I'm not telling you God spoke in an audible voice, but to me it was audible. And he said, first of all, they were never yours to begin with. And then the answer was, I will do more through their death than they ever would have done through their life.
Wow.
And I was so humbled. I felt so small at that point. And then I remember thinking, man, they're in heaven. They're out of this really horrible world we live in. How selfish am I wanting them back here with me instead of, in heaven? And that day was a very defining day for me. And that was when I learned that the answers are never what we expect them to be. And I just determined that okay, I will endeavor to help people find the answers that they can't see. And That would be the defining moment when I knew what the purpose was, when it had been settled and I understood that there was a much larger plan and purpose in play than what I could see in the immediate environment. I illustrate it a lot of times like this. If you have a hamster and you put that hamster in a box, the only thing that hamster knows is what's inside that box. So if there's a huge, and you take that hamster out and it loves to be out in the sun. And when you take the hamster inside, it's out of the sun, it's inside, it's kind of dreary, he's not really as happy. You notice he's not as happy, but you take him in because what he doesn't see is that great big storm cloud that's coming, because all he knows is what's in that box. And so I realized at that point that, some of us can be used to help other people see outside of that box.
Wow, that's deep. That's good stuff, man. That's real good stuff. That's real good stuff. Let me ask you: when you went back into the prisons. Now, I have seen you showed me some of these bikes you got.
Yeah.
You guys, listen, you get a load of these bikes. I mean, $100,000 motorcycle. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, we build custom motorcycles like you would see on Biker Build Off, West Coast Choppers, things like that. Man, that's kind of a hobby.
So you take, how many bikes you got? How many bikes do you guys take back into the prison?
Well, when we come in as a group, we'll have quite a few. Me personally, I have 3 right now. I've built a couple more than that. We're actually, my son and I are getting ready to start on a chopper, kind of the style you would see from American choppers, OCC style with the forked out front end. And it's going to be a prison themed bike. We're going to have razor wire and handcuffs,
wow,
all kinds of stuff. And it'll be completely custom and themed, and it's really neat because most of the programs in prison take place in the chapel, and unfortunately there's a huge percentage of the population that will not go into that chapel for any reason. But you ride a group of motorcycles onto the yard and you'll be amazed at who all comes out of that dorm. And it starts by just talking about the bike, and of course all our bikes have themes, as you saw, and the themes are there for a reason. They provoke questions, and it opens dialogue, and that opens the door. And we do regular services at the prisons, and some of the guys that come tell us, I never would have come here before you rode that motorcycle on this compound. So that's kind of the opportunity. But when we go, we work with the wardens, and usually what happens is we're there at 7:00 in the morning, and we are riding those motorcycles around the perimeter, revving them up really loud. Wow. My bike's got big speakers on it, so I'm playing music really, really loud, and I've got some air horns on my bike that are real loud, so I'm honking the horn and just getting them all up, waking them up in the morning, and then we ride onto the compound, and then they get to come out and see the bikes.
So that's where's that, the prison that you were at? That's out close to you where you live?
So that prison's about an hour from me. I work with a couple other ministries that are fantastic. They're amazing, amazing people, and they allow us to ride in with them. And those events take place monthly throughout the year at different prisons. I think God's just about blessed me to the point where I can retire out of running the scaffold company for someone else and have just my own company, which will free me up as well to start traveling the country. We would like to start going to some other state prisons and federal prisons and things like that. And we want to start, it's not just there. Our education reaches outside of the prisons as well. Society needs to know that because somebody was in prison, it's not their end. I think I may have told you this story when we were together. I did a prison reform convention that I spoke at in Tallahassee, and then sat down with the a couple of the state congressmen, and we were talking, and I was talking about reform and people being able to be productive when they get out, and he made a comment that these guys don't change. They go to prison, that's just who they are, and there's just really nothing good. All you can hope for is that they just don't offend worse when they come out. So we talked for a little longer, and kind of told him about my businesses and traveling and the things that I do, and I left the whole other part of the story out. And he's like, he says, you're a young guy, which I'm older than I look. But I said, thank you. And he said, yeah, I'm pretty impressed at where you've come at your age. And I said, yeah. And I said, so you say I'm a productive member of society then? And he said, oh yeah, absolutely. I said, interesting, because I thought I was one of these guys that you said I couldn't, and I pulled my ID out of my wallet, my prison ID, and I handed it to him. And he just got this look on his face, like, oh, wow, that's a big play to crow, But it opened dialogue, and he's now open to having some conversations about programs and what they can, how they can make a difference. Prison's a hard place. That's a whole nother conversation we can go into at what it's designed to do to a human. But I think that the easiest illustration is if you put a dog in a cage and you poke him with a stick every day for a year, do you really think he's going to be a better dog when he comes out at the end of a year? So think about that.
Yeah, that's, man. Listen, I know talking about. I see. Danielle, always a blessing and a pleasure to have you here. She's another one. Let your voice be heard. Regulars, her and
awesome.
They say they love every. It's all they're good. They're good people.
Awesome.
They know something about everything. So
great. That's awesome.
Come on, Danielle. How you doing?
Good. Hi, Micah. I'm so glad that you were kind of like, I'm going to say the poster child right now, reform, because I am a social worker. I'm an LCSW, a mental health therapist.
Awesome.
And I consistently work with those that have been marginalized because of that stigma and that revolving door effect that happens. And they don't even realize that the stipulations that they put on people when they're coming out is almost like worked against them to get them back in. It's like it's like
it's designed that way.
Exactly. So
yes. I've seen guys do 25 years and they get out and they get $50 in a bus ticket.
Yeah. So you may not know this, but Ngange Meshapeshu is actually my husband.
Oh wow.
Yes, and he had to do some time in jail, and we actually had to go through that process so he had the probation and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was weird being on that position of, I have seen it where people were hurt and they were my clients or the people that have been victimized by them. But then I was also a spouse.
Right.
Having to go through this. So I have had that lens of what barriers have happened within the systems and the fact that you are showing up going, hey, we can change and we're not defined by our labels. I mean, Les Miserables is a good example.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A prime example. Yeah.
I know. I always think about it. It's like, people forget Les Miserables.
Yeah. One of my favorites.
So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a blessing to have you, Danielle. Earl Jones, I see you have your hand up again. Earl Jones, Mr. Jones.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hello. We have one book that's published already. I'm in the process of 2 others. So that can be found on Amazon. Right now, it's probably not available. I'm going to open it up and you can place an order, but I'm going to have to put a disclaimer on there because we're pretty much out of stock. So we're waiting on the new order to come in, and they're telling me it's going to be about 3 or 4 weeks. But if you pre-order it, it won't take the money until the book comes. You'll get a notification when it comes, and it'll ask you if you still want to purchase it. So you can find it on Amazon. If you put in choices, a journey from bad decisions to good results, put my name in, Micah Turner, it'll pop up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. Okay.
It is awesome, and I'm encouraging everybody on here to get that book because this is what we talking about on here. He just scratching the surface, man. This man got so much going on, man.
Yeah.
He's been through so much, man. This book is awesome, man. I'm still on those motorcycles, man. When you guys go in there, you guys just ride in the jail and ride on the yard, circle the yard.
Yeah, so we'll circle around the outside of the prison, and then they'll open up the gates. We go into the Sally Port. Of course, they just about tear these bikes apart. You know, they're gonna make sure there's nothing in them, nothing on them. Yeah. And then they'll open that gate, and we'll ride onto the recreation yard, and we'll ride around the recreation yard.
I need his ID, but you're gonna fill it out.
Yeah, of course, please, thank you so much.
Who's on? Oh, that's these people. Okay, go ahead.
And we'll ride around the yard, the recreation yard, and then we usually park like on a basketball court or a tennis court or something like that, so it's a hard surface, and then they'll come out.
Right. Well, man, listen. When's the next time you going in prison, and what prison are you going to?
I will have to look at the schedule and get that back to you. I don't have it in front of me.
I'm going with you.
We can make that happen. We can make that happen.
I'm not riding a bike though. I ain't riding a motorcycle.
I got an extra.
I'm not riding a motorcycle. No. And people laugh at me because I
no, listen, it's not for everybody.
Horses. I ride horses. I had 6 horses. But they said, you want to ride a bike? No, I'm riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. I grew up on them. It's a passion of mine. We go to all the big bike events. Last time I was in Sturgis, I blessed some Hells Angels bikes. We blessed some Outlaws bikes over. I got a video of my son in Daytona preaching to the outlaw bikers.
Well, I tell you what, the way those bikes you showed me, I'm not going to ride them, but I'll definitely sit on them. I'm going to sit on them and take some pictures on them.
Oh, you more than welcome. I'll bring one down. I'll ride one down next time.
Please do.
All right. I'll do that.
Guys, listen, man. Is there anybody else have a question or comment for lack of sake of time? We have to get off of here. Nobody has anything. You guys, listen. Micah. Micah will be back here with us next Tuesday. You back with us next Tuesday, right, Micah?
I'll be here when you need me.
Next Tuesday,
I can do that.
Same time, same channel, same everything. Like I said, we just.
I'll be at a remote location. I'll be at my office in Houston next week, but I can be here. Yeah, not a problem.
We just scratching the surface.
Oh yeah, there's
There's so much more. There's so much more to this. You guys just don't know. My panel, you guys know I love you guys, man. Michael, we love you, man, and you keep doing what you're doing, man. We're gonna keep supporting you. We're gonna order as many of them books as we can. So
do it tomorrow. Let me get onto Amazon tonight and open it back up because it's out of stock. But I'll open it up and I'll put the conditions on there so people can order it. So let's do that tomorrow. And,
yes, sir. We thank you, man. We thank you. We love you. And we can't wait for you to come back next week. My panel, I love you guys, man. You guys keep coming, and we're gonna keep bringing these awesome people on here, man, with these stories, man. And Michael, I appreciate you, man, and God bless you, man, for being so transparent, man. Because a lot of people ain't coming on here telling a story like that.
It's an honor.
Sugarcoat stuff, and you give it to us straight, man. And I appreciate you, man. Love you, bro. and keep doing.
Love you too, brother. Absolutely.
Doing what you're doing, my brother. And
Absolutely.
we're gonna keep on doing what we doing, man. Let your voice be heard.
A special thank you to Tony Holmes, owner and founder of Let Your Voice Be Heard, for creating a platform where every voice matters and every story has the opportunity to be heard. Until next time, and remember, let your voice be heard. It's your boy now.
On the wall, but your name's still missing from the roll call. Let your voice be heard. Say